Welcome back to another episode of the Owl Pod. Today, we have a special guest, Marc Jackson, who played for Temple basketball from 1995 to 1997, where he became one of the program's most dominant big men and a driving force under Coach John Chaney. Following his collegiate career, he spent 7 years in the NBA, playing for teams including the Golden State Warriors, Minnesota Timberwolves, and Philadelphia 76ers. Today, Marc continues to make an impact as a respected analyst and broadcaster for NBC Sports Philadelphia. His journey from North Philadelphia to Temple to the NBA and now to broadcasting embodies resilience, authenticity, and the power of staying connected. This evening, he'll share his insights on overcoming adversity, redefining strength, and creating environments where honest conversations about mental health are not only accepted, but encouraged. Please join me in welcoming Marc Jackson. All right, thanks for joining us, Marc.
Absolutely.
Jack, thanks for the intro there. I'd like to start with your time at Temple. We'll get through NBA and what you're doing now, but let's go back to your time here at Temple. Can you talk about how you personally manage stress, expectations, and the pressure to perform as a student athlete? We have a lot of student athletes in front of us, so maybe sharing some tips that you use and kind of how you handled all of that stress.
Well, for me, first of all, thanks for having me here. I'm a big advocate for mental health, mental health challenges and things like that, so I'm so happy to be and speak on it. As author of this, my story is a lot different. Like, my journey at Temple started way before basketball. That's why I feel as I have a deep-rooted commitment, not just to the Temple University community, but just to the school and the city of Philadelphia at all. Because I'm a Broad Street kid. I was born in Temple University Hospital. I was born right in the hospital on the street. I went to elementary, junior high, middle school, and high school right on Broad Street. My middle school was right there. It was at 12th and Cecil B. Moore, which is now where the housing is. That's where middle school was. And for me, Temple's always been deep in me. I was that kid. I want to get away from home. But once I left home, I said I got to get back. And I came to Temple. But for me, the way I handled, the challenges of keeping my mental right was I was a big introvert. Like, I was addicted to the game of basketball, which I thought was a good thing. I still think I'm still blessed and fortunate to say that's why I think I got where I am now. But with that being said, I knew that now that I look back on that, I was just too obsessed with the game. I didn't realize life was bigger than the game. To me, that's all life was basketball. So for me, then I struggled with that because back then you couldn't talk to nobody. Couldn't bring it up, and I just didn't have the typical challenges of being a student athlete. I've had a very great relationship with all of the Temple police and the Temple people, and the reason why is because another deeper story is that I literally raised my little brother in Johnson and Horwick. That's why I stayed in Johnson and Horwick, right? So I had a mother that was struggling with drug abuse, and I had an infant little brother at the time that I actually raised in their dorms that the RAs and everybody knew, and the Temple police, and I used to hide him in there, bring him to practice at 5 o'clock in the morning. My little cousin was sitting in the stands with him. So I had a lot going on mentally that I didn't have no one to talk to. No one or nothing to talk to. But the way I did it, I always looked at my mind and said, it's a bigger picture than now. I looked at it, it was a bigger picture than now. Now, when I look back on it, that wasn't living mindfulness. That wasn't being in the now. I was always thinking of the bigger picture. And sometimes back then when I think back of those things and I think about what is important, what are the keys and solutions to the challenges that our mental needs to be successful, is one thing is living in the now. But for me back then, I didn't have that. I had to think it was a bigger picture than me. I had to focus, lock in, and be addicted to my craft. And once I do that, so the biggest thing was I used to think, for me, I have the ability to wake up every morning. So if I wake up, I get to cultivate my mind and make my day what it's going to be, and that's all I needed to find happiness. And for me, being on the court in basketball, that was my happiness. That was my therapist. That was my coping mechanism, of being engaged and ingrained in my sport. So that for me back then, but it's much different from now. Now.
Yeah, so you touched on a lot there. One thing I kind of want to move the conversation towards is how you mentioned there was no one really to talk about that with.
Absolutely.
And, nowadays, certainly all the athletes in the room can vouch for this. We're lucky enough to have, TUL, who works, exclusively with student athletes. A lot of the teams, including my own team, we do monthly mental health meetings. So we'll talk about not only performance, but also things going on outside of your respective sports. So maybe talk a little bit about why you think, there was that stigma back then and why it wasn't talked about for you personally. And also I'm guessing it was probably the same for your teammates.
Yes.
And then maybe talk why you think that's changed now.
Mm-hmm.
But really curious to hear, like, back then, you said you didn't talk to anyone about it, and maybe why you think that was.
Yeah, well, the reason why I didn't talk to no one, because that you was, the whole pull up your bootstraps and toughen up, be a man. That was what it was about. That was what you would have heard a lot back then. But now, if you go back just 20 years ago, less than a third of universities had wellness programs or mental health therapists or sports psychologists on duty. But now over 50% of schools have them. So just for you saying, y'all mean monthly, that's incredible. But now when you look at it, it's talked about. It's okay. It's okay to speak about what your challenges are. You're not alone. Because a biggest thing, I'm going to compare it to back then. Back then meaning when I was here. When I was here, it was like, okay, I'm the big tough guy. I got to be tough. I got to be strong. But that didn't mean you was weak. But that was the perception back then. But now it's like, you look at what's going on today, and you look at now it's okay and it's accepted to talk about it. When you open that door of conversation, the door stays open. And it's not about, when I talk about the discussions, it's not about venting sometimes. I think it's trying to find a solution. I believe when we get things like I practice mindfulness. I practice when I wake up, I practice gratitude for waking up, but I write things down. I get things off my chest and out of my mind on the paper, right? That's open a discussion. I have a great support system of friends that I can have conversation with. I did many years of therapy with therapists on this. So for me, I know that I've learned over time. Now, man, I'm a lot older than a lot of you. So for me, it's still hard. When I first started going through therapy about 10 years ago, I was like, I don't know. I feel like I don't know. I feel like I should do this. I should hide something. But as time went on, that door stayed open. It helped me so much. And now I'm the father of 3 sons, and I talk to them. You have anything to talk about, even if it's not just to me. You have a support system. You have people you can talk to. You have sports psychiatrists. It's so important. It's a great thing to discuss, because once you get it out, once you work on solutions, that stays with you forever. And you evolve. You evolve. Like what may be a solution now, may be a different solution tomorrow. But it starts with the conversation.
Yeah, I think especially for the athletes in this room, I think there's definitely the ability to relate to that, just because I think as an athlete, you always want to push through. You always want to be on the court. You always want to show up for your teammates, all of those things. I think the point of, hey, actually opening yourself up to allow to talk to someone is definitely a difficult step for myself and probably a lot of people in the room as well. So
it's right. Let me that. But what you said with yourself and a lot of people in the room, because we're not alone. We're not alone. That's very important. We're all struggling with something. We all struggle with something. It can be as man, I'm having a problem with time management, just something as minor as that I'm not accepting my performance, or I'm afraid that what my coach believes my performance is. No matter what, we're all struggling with something. And that struggle doesn't go on forever, and it starts a discussion. Like I said, the biggest thing is we think sometimes we're alone until we start having those discussions. We realize, I'm not alone. Somebody else is discussing, somebody else is struggling with something. Somebody else has a battle they have to overcome, and that helps you in the long run too.
Yeah, for sure. I think just opening up that conversation like we're doing right now. You mentioned, obviously we just talked opening up. You said writing things down, gratitude. I was curious if there's any other things you would advise student athletes right now between balancing mental health, school, performance, any things that you use throughout your professional career, your collegiate career that worked for you and you think you'd be worth sharing with the audience here?
So, once again, the 3 top things when you go look at statistics, you look at research, the 3 things is support. What's your support group? Who's your support group? Friends, teammates, family members. That's your support group. 2 is mindfulness, practicing. A lot of time as athletes, we know we prepare every day for the outcome of what's about to happen, right? That's just the facts. Because we necessarily don't compete in our sport in a team event or individual sport every day. But what we do is preparing for that. So sometimes we think, well, if I do this today, then I have to worry about what's coming around the corner, what's going to happen there. But if we appreciate where we are now, if we giving our best percent, if we giving our 100% effort for us, it's not about anybody else, it's about you. And I know we have people that put pressure on them, meaning coaches, people, teammates, And the pressure's okay if you look at it from a different perspective, but it's still, what are you doing today? That's mindfulness. Being involved and being attached to now, not what's coming around the corner. And third is maximize your resources. The sports psychologists, there's the networking that you have at your university. Temple's a big university. It's an old university. It's not a new one. It's been around for many years. So they have enough resources for everyone. And I think taking advantage of that, those are the 3 top things that I think should be done and must be done. And the 2 number 1 sports that have the biggest challenge for mental health is and not just collegiate, I'm talking about in general. A is football, American football. Can anybody guess what the second one is? I bet no one can guess. No. It's not in collegiate sport. A jockey in horse racing. That's number 2 sport that struggle the most with mental health. And they have the least amount of resources as other sports, as basketball, football, tennis, soccer, baseball. Like they have the least. So like everyone's struggling with something, but the way you can cope with that is your support system is very important. People you trust. People you trust are very important. Now our trust might go different ways. It may be a teammate, it might be a sibling, it may be a girlfriend, or it may be, but whoever it is, that's your support. 2 is practicing mindfulness, being in the now, right? Being aware. As long as I'm doing this, I don't care about what's going to happen next week. I'm doing right now. I know what now is for that, but right now is what I'm doing. And the third is maximize your resources. It's your counselors, your sports psychologists, those things are very important.
Yeah, that's great. Let's jump to the NBA now.
Okay.
I heard you discussing before we hit record, about leaving college early. I believe after your junior year, you entered the draft.
Yes.
I'm sure immense amount of pressure with that, obviously leaving university early. And I guess for most of the athletes in the room, that transition won't be to the NBA, but maybe to a job or some new setting where they're no longer playing their sport. So can you talk about how that transition was for you? Obviously, it's going to be a little different going to the NBA, but leaving college, now you're professional. Mm-hmm. Can you talk about some of the challenges with that and how you kind of handled that transition?
So I left early because I didn't want to leave Coach. A lot of y'all don't even know who Coach John Chaney was. John Chaney was my basketball coach here. He was a Hall of Fame coach, notoriously known for just being enthusiastic about the game, and just people thought he was just mean guy, but he was. He was a father. But I didn't want to leave Coach Chaney. But my family was struggling so bad financially. I literally grew up right there. You might know what Huntington Street is, right down the street. So the home I was living in is 11 for Huntington. We had no heat, no running water, literally. And I told you I had an infant little brother my mother had in the house. So my big thing, I needed to get money to support my family. So I didn't want to leave Coach Chaney. Coach Chaney knew I didn't want to leave him. I didn't want to leave the university, but he knew I had to. So when I transitioned, I think, it's going to be good. And I'm making income, making money. But that just put more pressure on yourself. That just brings more problems. So for me, when I transitioned, when I got to the NBA, it wasn't just about I have to play well for now. It's like now I have myself, I have my little brother, I have my mother. I have now 20 family members that want me to take care of them financially. So it's that pressure of them. And I'm a Philadelphia kid. I'm a Broad Street kid. So it's funny, I got the opportunity to play for the 76ers, my hometown team, and I was so fortunate enough to play with 2 other fellow Philadelphians at the same time to play for the 76ers. One named John Simmons, who from Philadelphia, and one named Aaron McKee. We were just teammates. First time in the NBA history that 3 kids from the local city played for the same team. But the thing is, not everybody welcomed that. They don't like the people having access to them, because when you're in your local city, more people have access to you that's seen you grow up, so you got more people bombarding you. But for me, I had to learn to turn people off, meaning I had to learn to say no to people. I had to learn that people were not going to like my decision because it didn't benefit them. Like now, so let's go now to college. A lot of y'all, this is Temple University, right? So y'all have pressures. Yeah, people, now people see a money sign now because it's college, no matter what your sport is. So they coming at you, they tell about things, but you got to learn to turn people off too. It's okay. It's okay when you feel as though people don't have your best interest in heart. It's okay to walk away and say, hey, I'm okay right now. Meaning, you don't have to get them detailed, but it's meaning saying, I'm turning the switch off on you. You're no longer part of my journey day to day because you're bringing forth more pressure to me that I don't need. So that transition for me to professional sports came with a big following that more people wanted something from me. So my thing is learn to say no to people, learn to walk away. I've always been an introvert. I was always just loved basketball until my wife and my children came along. That's all I cared about. I had a whole different perspective when my children came along. Basketball wasn't my only love now. So, but I always learned, because I was such an introvert kind of person, that I didn't mind saying no to people. I didn't care about trying to be the cool guy. I don't care about trying to have people love me or like me, but I understand that comes to this. Because we are athletes, we like when people cheer for us. We love when people show us love, even though we know that their love is artificial. But that cheering is a form of love. They love me now. But when you're doing bad, especially in Philly, when they boo you, or they hate me now. And that can mess you mentally. So turning people off and turning things off that didn't help me mentally is what I did.
Yeah, I mean, you touched on a lot there. I guess I want to move the conversation more towards our current student athletes.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you know the rise of social media.
Yes.
Talked about pressure of playing in your own city. Talking about saying no to people, not just in your circle, but even outside. Obviously, social media, college sports, a lot of factors have contributed. But we've seen a big increase in online abuse for student athletes, whether
Absolutely.
it's because of sports betting or whatever you want to, chalk it up to. But talk about some of the external pressure, not just from your circle to provide, but also from people that maybe it's media. You talk about Philly fans booing, whatever it may be. How do you turn something off that feels like it's just around you constantly? And I'm sure we have athletes here on different sports that maybe they're not dealing with. Maybe a teammate has someone, in their DMs or in their comment section. How do you deal with that pressure? Because, correct me if I'm wrong, but as a player, when you were playing, social media was starting to get momentum, but it's nowhere close to probably what it is today.
Everybody got access to you now. Social media. So is anyone here not on social media? Nothing wrong with that. I'm on social media. Exactly. So everybody's on social media, right? So we deal with, like you mentioned, you covered a lot, the pressures of people having access to you. People you don't even know. People that made a bet on you, or people that are following you, or just being trolls. You'd be surprised at the amount of people sitting at home in front of their computer just want to be trolls to you. Like, why do y'all know me? But they chose you to be a troll. Because of social media, it's immediate. It's immediate. It's like, it don't have to be filtered. People can send you a DM straight to your DM, whether you have 100 followers or 10,000 followers. So with that being said, you have to understand, let me make sure I heard this right. We have to understand that people are going to be them, but them being them shouldn't affect me. Meaning their comments shouldn't affect me. And I know that people say, well, sometimes it gets overwhelming. And I hope that none of you experience this, where people say things, bots or trolls on social media, just to say something negative to know it itches your skin. And once they get that feedback that it does, it continues to build more and more. Once again, turning things off, learning to ignore certain things that we know don't benefit us. But we all go to social media. Oh, let's see what's going on here. That instant gratification, some of the things that pleases us with the likes and the instant gratification, also things that can mess us up mentally. It is. So social media plays a part in everybody's life, because that's also your personal brand. So once somebody checks in on you or DMs your social brand to say something negative, just to say it, knowing for a fact they have no idea truly who you are, what you represent, they just do it to get a rise out of you. And that's when we have to know who's important to me, who's not, and to learn to say no or to turn off that person. It's okay to hit that light switch sometimes, say, nah, that's not for me. Yeah. And that's hard for me, because in my career, I was a big-time trash talker. So when I first got on social media, people talk to you, I would go back at them. Then I had to learn, like, hold on, this is getting a little out of hand.
So you were like Kevin Durant before Kevin
100%. That was like, give me an address, I come to your front door. Like, that's kind of stuff I would go. And then when you notice, it starts to build up, like, so that one turned into 10, now to 10,000, like, okay, you know what, let me stop responding to everybody. Let me just turn it off. Now I'm not going to take that challenge. No, I'm not going to do that. So that's turning things off, and that's saying, hey, that's not benefiting me. That's not benefiting my mental right now, and that's not going to engage in that. Yeah,
you talked about a little bit there about actually playing in the NBA there. I didn't know you were a trash talker, by the way.
Oh, major.
Yeah.
Major. Oh, major. I was major trash talk, man. It was, yeah.
Yeah, so you learn something new every day, I guess. But let's move. We have a bunch of different sports in the room here. I know my sport personally, the mental side, super important. Obviously, every sport is a little bit different. But was there ever a point in your career where you felt, handling the mental side of your game became more of a challenge than the actual physical side? Obviously, by the time you got to the NBA, you played basketball for many years, but was there ever a point in your career where you felt like you need to actually spend more time on your mental health than the actual game itself?
When I start learning about things that can help me, right? So when I talk to student athletes, especially from colleges, especially now I try to work with younger kids as well, not just collegiate kids, but I'm gonna tell you as well, you have to find something else that piques your interest. You can't, like I said, my thing was I was addicted to the game. My young guy, Kobe Bryant, as y'all know, was addicted to the game. But like you have to find other things that pique your interest because you have to be able to take your focus and put it somewhere else. Because when you do that, something else that gives you pleasure, it can be whatever it is. Maybe a movie buff, maybe a musician, like you like music, whatever it is that brings you joy or brings something, a little flutter to your heart, that brings a smile on your face, you got to start putting effort to it. And here's the crazy thing. If you look at, let's go 10, 20 years ago, if you had any interest outside your sport, that was looked at as kind of a negative. But now it's not. And I'm telling you what it does. It brings so much more to you as an athlete. So do y'all know over 40%, some studies, including a Harvard study, that says that over 40% of student athletes, colleges, university student athletes, do not discuss the challenges they face in mental health. They don't. But when you do that, you will learn some tricks and some traits that will help you. And putting energy towards something else outside of your sport helps that. You may be a gamer, believe it or not, but I'll kill all y'all on 2K, so let's not go there. Okay, but you put your energy towards some different things, it helps you throughout because it's a recharge. We need a recharge. We can't be on go because everybody has a battery. We all have batteries in life. We all have batteries in us. With everything we do, your battery runs out. And if you've given 100% of your battery to that one sport and that one thing, you're not working on the other things, it messes with you. Your sport does not last forever. And that's a hard one. Listen to me. Your sport does not last forever. You're not going to be doing your sport forever. You're a runner, right? You compete, right? You might not compete. If you make it professionally, I don't know. Hopefully you do. But you're not going to be running professionally at 70.
No.
And then what happens? When that sport stops, a lot of times we stop because we feel as though we don't have a purpose. And I learned that. I learned that big time when I stopped playing. It's like I woke up, and let me dive something. The reason why I retired, because I woke up one day, I was running with my sons. They were young. My knees hurt. And I said, my knee hurt real bad. Never had knee pain. And then that same night, I went to get up in the middle of the night, go to the restroom, and I went to lean up, and I had this crazy pain in my back. This all happened within an 8-hour span. And I woke up, and I said, I'm done. My wife at the time looked at me, I'm done. I'm quitting. I'm retired. I'm done. And I walked away from the game. And I'm born and raised raised in the projects, Richard Island projects, right, 11th and Girard. That's where my old projects was. Inner city kid. But when I retired, I actually became a wannabe cowboy. I started competing in rodeos all around the country. True story. In an event called team roping, because I needed something to put my drilling into. So I started doing that. So I get addicted to that. Then I kind of got bored of that after about 10 years, moved back to Philly because of my TV career. And I was like, what am I going to do? But I started my nonprofit. I started my community thing, and I started engaging more, and it helped me. Giving myself to others helped me. But it does stop. What do you have after it stops? What are you working on now? And I'm going to tell you the thing, and I've seen it with a lot of athletes in college. Athletes have the wake-up call, is the day after their college career is over. Then they start. You see their mind shift to okay, I'm gonna do this. Like someone gonna go pro. You see their effort and energy. You see their effort and energy go up to a whole nother level, right? You see their energy and effort go up to a whole nother the day after their college career start, because they realize oh man, college is over. But if you start working on other things now, that's not a negative. It used to be a negative back then. But if you have something else it helps you a lot.
Right, so you mentioned there getting into rodeo after your playing career. Mm-hmm. And you talked about, nowadays I feel like it's way more common you see athletes taking on other hobbies. Yeah. We talked about Steph Curry, he's a big golfer. A lot of athletes, step into other sports, other hobbies during their playing career. For yourself, what routines or off-court habits kept you balanced, or were you still in that mode of just basketball, or did you have something that you kind of, outside of the game that you went to kind of keep yourself balanced? Maybe in the off season, maybe time where season wasn't really busy.
So that's a good one. Like I would tell you. So the reason why I speak like this and I enjoy speaking so much because I am the person who I'm telling you what I did wasn't right. I was addicted to the game. I never did anything else. I didn't have many friends because in the offseason, I never took a break. I had 6 stress fractures in my foot. 6. Had 2 foot surgeries. Had a screw put in my foot. And because I was addicted to the game, did this incredible rehab, I had a screw put in my 5th metatarsal on my right foot. And played in my first game exactly 3.5 weeks after that, which never been done before. Because I was just addicted to the game, right? But because of that, a month later, rebroke, got a bigger screw put in it. And then I sat out, right? So in the offseason, I never took a break. Like you notice now when people like in college, they encourage you to take breaks your season, let you mental health clear. No, when my season was over at Temple, when my last game, I was in the gym the next day doing 8-hour workouts. I was in the weight room. I was on the court doing 2 days. This is what I was. But I know now, looking back, that's not the right way to do it. That's not the right way to do it. So I know that putting your mind to other things, to give your mind a break from your sport, it's just as hard as you doing the extra reps for your sport. Your mental reps is so much important than your physical reps because your mental will last you longer.
Yeah, so getting into, your work now, obviously you work for NBC Philadelphia, cover the 76ers. You just said when you were playing, you didn't necessarily have the best habits. You would have changed it if you'd gone back.
I'm sorry, I mean, because my sons. So the thing that woke me up is when my first son, Sharif, was born. And that's when I knew I had to live life for a different purpose, not the game. I just lived for basketball. When my first son, Sharif, was born, that's when I had to live life for another purpose, and that was my sons. Then my other son, Sammy, was born. Gave me another reason. Then my third son, Shane, was born. And I was like, so that's why I felt comfortable walking away. But if my sons was never born, I probably was still trying to pay now. So I mean, but that was important, yeah.
No, it's a good point. So do you see any of the players that you maybe see around a lot? What are they doing? What do you think works for them? Like, is there anything that you're seeing right now that you think would be worth sharing? Obviously, you're close to the team. Is there any insight you give us there that you think, okay, this person, I see them step away, I see them journaling, I see them doing something that you think would be worth sharing in that regard?
So let's talk Sixers. You have some players, a lot of players being now are addicted, transition to golf. Like so many guys in the season play a lot of golf.
Wait, didn't Tyrese Maxey have a golf event this
season? Have a golf event. Kyle Lowry's a great golfer, by the way. He plays the game. So people have different things. They transition to golf. You have a lot of people that are big in the journal and in the poetry. Kelly Oubre is huge in the fashion. So Kelly, when he's not on the court dunking on people, off court he's working in the fashion. He likes fashion, either designing or being involved in it. So everyone has something else. What's your love? What's your passion? So a lot of guys are really just gamers. So when they walk off that court, they immediately start in the game. Believe it or not, that's a different battery being used. So it's recharging the on-the-court game. A lot of people are starting now in the world, the trending is pickleball. Pickleball is something else. It's still an athletic event, but it's nothing to do with their sport. They're finding different ways to satisfy their mental challenge and just to be satisfied. They bring a smile to your face. And that, you're all athletes. So you're not going to lose your competitiveness. So if you look at a lot of major corporations, the number one people they hire are former athletes because they know what discipline and teamwork can do. They know you know what it takes to be good at what you want to do. So they look to hire you because of that. So that is a plus. You'll never lose that competitive spirit, ever. It doesn't leave you. Even though you might stop playing your sport, but that competitive nature and that fire never leaves you. And you are the people that these major corporations want to hire. So it's not a negative to have that in you.
Yeah, you talked about your North Philly roots, especially Temple. You just a couple of minutes ago, you talked about some of the work you're doing in the community. I want to get more into that. What projects or organizations are you currently involved with? And you talked about your inspiration to give back, but maybe expand a little bit more on that and kind of what you're doing now in the community work?
Absolutely. I'm big on building mental resilience in youth. That's so important to me because you'd be surprised on how young the challenges of mental health goes a lot younger than young. When as soon as an athlete picks up a basketball, picks up a football, picks up a tennis racket, it starts. So I'm big on helping, giving them methods to cope with that and to deal with that and to navigate their journey. I'm big with that. I'm also a consultant for Philadelphia 76 and all youth ventures and projects involving the Philadelphia 76ers and the city of Philadelphia. So that gives me a lot of different forums and platforms to not just speak at, but to have engage in personally to help people, whether it's youth, whether it's elderly people or things like that. And I started 5 Jacks Group, which is also another way, a nonprofit, to give back and help the kids and help youth and people who need it. So I have a lot of things I'm involved in. Why? Because I've learned over these years of retirement is what brings me satisfaction, would help me mentally, is giving myself to others. I can't give myself to everyone, but I give myself to as many people as take me.
Yeah. No, that's great. And you touched on this a little bit, obviously your motivation. What do you hope your legacy in the community represents when it comes to resilience, support, self-awareness? Like, where do you want to see your biggest impact? Obviously, mental health is a huge one in the city of Philadelphia for yourself. Where do you want your legacy to lie in the work that you're doing, and where do you want it to show up most?
I wanted to show that I believe that when I speak in a room, when I'm in a room, I don't have to necessarily try to get through to everyone. It's either get through to one. And when I get through to one, that one can populate. And it's so important because I have a nickname that was given to me by my elders in my local community. It was called the Walking Miracle. Quick story, I remember I have a basketball program that started here in North Philadelphia when I first moved back. It started in Tampa, Florida. And when I moved back, I brought it here to Philadelphia, and I had about 50, 60 kids in the gym playing basketball. It was always mentor, but my tunnel to the kids was basketball. So I would have them in the gym, working them out, just having fun talking, like, these young kids all the way up, age 8 to 16. And I remember afterwards, we waited outside for their parents to come pick them up. They come to pick them up. These 2 elderly ladies in my old neighborhood was walking down the street, and they said, "Aren't you Ida's son?" My mother's name is Ida. Ironically, my grandmother's name is Ida. My mother's name is Ida. "Aren't you Ida's son?" I said, "Yes." And they knew how I grew up. And they became very emotional. And it was like, and the interesting part is they did it in front of all the kids I was mentoring. And it was just overwhelming emotion. And I said, "Are you okay? What's wrong?" They said, "We are so proud of you. And we try to use you an example for the other kids that's growing up in this community, in this neighborhood, that you can be a walking miracle. And we've seen how you grew up. We see what you went through. You shouldn't be where you're at. That the signs of miracles are real." And they said that in front of all these kids. And I mentor a lot of kids. I think it's been over 500 kids since I first started my program. And a look on these people, they realize, like, oh, he's not just a big guy. He's not just a big guy who teaches us things. He has purpose in this. So the thing I want to leave behind is I do things for others because it brings me joy. It satisfies me to bring joy to others. That's all I hope that I can leave on this world when I leave.
Yeah, I think that's a great place to wrap up our conversation. I certainly want to get the audience involved here. But thank you for coming on the Owl Pod. We really appreciate it. Thank you for your time.